Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. And we are starting off on the Uprising content. So we have a nice slate of content coming up here for the next little while, actually. So starting off here, I just got back pretty recently from the Vegas world premiere.
Yeah, welcome
Exciting.
back. Welcome back to Canada.
Thank you. I didn't know I'd get back. Flight was delayed
Didn't know
3 hours.
you'd get back.
I the flight next to me got canceled because they gave that plane to another flight. I got real spooked. Let me tell you that. Point is, I'm back. Very very exciting 3 days. Friday through Sunday. I got to play Sealed, Uprising Draft. Really delve into the new cards, the kind of combos, the builds here, and so we're going to be using that as a base as well as the events coming up this weekend, the pre-releases, and of course the release event on the 24th. All the goodness here. So I'm joined by Rob, my co-creator, co-compatriot, co-commentator, co-caster, not in that order, but the order that I chose. And we're going to be going over a couple cards, not particularly in any order, just 10 cards with a couple special mentions at the end that we think you might be interested in looking out for, giving our reasoning why this card is good, maybe what format's good in, explaining a little bit about the card, and you can judge for yourself here. This is in lieu of our review last time that we had to break into 5 parts where we literally talked about every
A little
single spoiler.
long-winded. Yeah, we're going to
Little
focus
bit, little bit.
primarily on 10 cards that we think have a lot of potential and that could be used in
10 plus special mentions.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
could fit it all in 10.
10 plus. Yeah. All right.
So we're going to start off here. So some of them we have a little bit for each. So we have some for Phi, some for Dromai, and some for Icelander with a couple generics thrown in there too. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you are liking our content. I also remind you that we do have affiliate link now with Red Riot Games. If you'd like to get something, it does help the channel with the affiliate link in the description below. Really help out the channel with getting new stuff for content, of course. And with that being said, we'll start in for card number 1. We're gonna start off with a Dromai card here, Rake the Embers. So Rake the Embers, it is only a common. However, a lot of the strongest cards in the game are commons and rares, right? Because they're staple cards. You can run multiple colors of them if you want, and their effects are nothing to scoff at here, especially in limited format too. So this is one of those cards that I believe is good in limited and constructed. I did play with this card in sealed. I have it in the pool and sealed. A very very good card. Red, yellow, blue. So the red one, so it does cost 1, blocks for 2, Draconic Illusionist action. So only Dromai can use this for now. It creates an ash token. Then transform up to 3 ash in red, 2 ash in yellow, 1 ash in blue. Into an Aether Ashwing, and that's the 1/1 dragon that has arcane barriers. So, funnily enough, the one thing that I really like this card in draft, if you end up going for a more wider 1/1 dragon build, so that's the one where you're creating ash and essentially getting the cards that create a lot of Aether Ashwing tokens. So maybe you didn't pull some super big dragons, maybe they all got drafted by other people, but you got some really strong ash generation and transformation cards, and you can go wide. These dragons have Arcane Barrier 1. So you're actually pretty well favored into Icelander 2, because with these dragons on the field, unless Icelander is running a lot of things like Seared or Singed or something like that, where that card is specifically meant to deal with dragons, you're actually doing pretty well for yourself, because you're going to be able to swing. All you have to do is play a red card to give the dragons go again.
Deals 1 arcane plus 1 to a target ally, I believe. So you can attack.
The dragons are 1/1. They only deal the 1, right? But the counter for Icelander does do spread damage essentially, so it's able to deal with a lot of these dragons. But in draft, there's no guarantee that they'll get a lot of this card or have that card. But the Arcane Barrier is very very nice. And the point about Rake the Embers is it's a red, so you can both pitch it early. If you get it early and you don't have any ash, you can pitch it to get ash, right? You can play it to actually get the go again on the dragons. Definitely a 3 of. You can start the chain with this card, pitch a red to activate Dromai, create ash, turn them into Ashwing, gain go again, and swing with them. So I think this card is definitely one of the non-attacks that you want the most of to be able to initiate that kind of strategy, because there's not that many cards that let you create multiple Aether Ashwings. I think there are cards that transform 1 at a time, like Skittering and stuff like that. it's a little bit difficult to actually get a massive dragon. So I think Rake the Embers is one of those cards that enables that ability. Speaking of dragons, we're gonna invoke our first big boy, big girl, big boy, big girl. Not actually. They had a little list like that gendered the dragons at one point. I don't know if you remember seeing that.
I have not seen that.
I think I saw the list. I think I've seen the list. I've seen the list floating around somewhere. No pun intended.
So you tell us, is this male or female?
I think Dominia might be a.
It sounds like a female name.
I don't know.
I'll put it that way.
Okay. Point is, this is our. So there are 12 dragons in this set, and when I was sitting there and looking at there are some dragons I like a lot more than others. There are 3 majestic dragons, and the rest of them are rares. I think a lot of the dragons there's a place and a time for a lot of the dragons. If you get a lot of them in draft, you can enable that strategy where you're creating enough ash and you're being able to enable that strategy where you can swing at least one time with the dragon, and every time more than one, you just keep gaining value, right? Because it's kind of like that illusionist aura build, right? Where you keep swinging with it's like a shimmers of silver, right? So you just keep swinging with it keeps buffing, it keeps gaining value, and if they don't deal with it, it's very difficult. However, these dragons do not have spectra, meaning if you attack them, it doesn't end the turn. So a very wide deck can't spend a turn dealing with all your dragons. But on the flip side, if you're able to like create that kind of barrier between yourself and them, they have to deal with your dragons or they have to decide to deal with you face. So Dominia is the one that I chose. It is a 4/4, 4/4 for 4. A lot of 4s in there.
Yep.
Has go again. You can only you have to understand these are majestic, so the rate at which you're going to be pulling these kinds of dragons, especially in draft, is quite rare in comparison. Even to the rare dragons are not that easy. But you can't use cards such as like Remembrance to get these invoke cards back. Invoke cards are non-attack actions. It might be necessary. These dragons do have Phantasm because they are created on Ash. You are transforming Ash into these dragons. The Ash does give the dragon Phantasm, so it's not likely they're going to be staying in the field that long in constructed if they have enough 6 powers or above. In draft, there's actually not that many 6 powers, and some of them are just rare. So like Findles, there's one card that in yellow it's a 6. In yellow it's a 6, and 7 it's a red, but it's a rare. There is one card that is a red 2 for 6. That is a common. Other than that, there's not actually that many cards like you can just grab at the generic kind of level that you're able to pop. Pop these like the ninja cards, like the draconic ninja cards. They're not 6.
Forget that.
Cards are 6. And the illusionist, you can't use those to pop, right? So it's actually not that easy in draft to be able to do this. So for Dominia specifically here, the red card synergies with Dromai Go Again, so you can summon and attack with these dragons with Go Again. The ability is where I kind of really like it. It's essentially a Thoughtseize for those who play Magic the Gathering, right? So if you're able to get at least one attack before it's popped, you get a free Thoughtseize off of it. So it's less useful against like the control decks. Doesn't matter as much. It's better into aggro decks that run more red cards. It gives full information, and you can banish a key card, right? Because whenever it attacks a hero, reveal the top card of your deck, of your own deck, right? If it's a red card, look at their hand and banish a card from it. So you're revealing your own deck, which is going to have a fair amount of reds in it because you're Dromai, right? And then if it's red, most likely is, you're going to look at their hand and banish one. So I really like banishing a card because even if they don't have a key card they need in their combo, you're taking pitch away from them. You're taking block away from them. You're taking another threat away from them, right? And it's just, it doesn't have to be an attack action. It doesn't have to be a non-attack. You're just taking a card. So to me, that feels like one of the better on hits other than like, oh yeah, the other dragons, a lot of them just do extra damage, right?
Not disruptive.
Arcane. No, they're not disruptive. They just do extra damage. They reveal and do damage based on whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I like the ones that actually have a tangible hit effect, right? This one is actually
bring
just
your opponent
to
like a break point where you have to give something up, right?
You have to give something up. You can't like even if you block
where, like if you play it, you're getting something. You're not just gonna let them take the damage and nothing happens. Like they're gonna have to give something up.
Yeah, it's just on the attack too, so you don't even have to hit, which is really, really nice. Yeah. So that's my like favorite dragon, and I think it's the best overall use case out of all the dragons, right? The
And
next card we
cheapest
have
of the
here.
Majestics. I'll
Oh,
point that out too. Sorry, it is the cheapest of the
it is the
three
4. It is
Majestic.
the 4. Yep. Out
Because
of the
there's a
4, 5,
6, there's a
6, it is the
5,
4.
and a 4. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the 4.
Sorry to interrupt.
So it is no, it is not bad because it's just a blue and a red, and that red is going to create an ash if you pitch the red and a blue, right?
It is also rare to have 2 blues, I feel, in a Dromai hand, because you are running mostly red. On average, maybe you'll have 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky. So drawing one of the 6 attack or the 6 attack dragon on most hands will not be playable. So at least this is probably one of the more playable Majestic ones.
Nope, that's fair. I think as well, like the resource economy with dragons will really depend on which dragons you specialize in, depending on your strategy, right? The next card we have here, we're going into a Draconic Ninja card. So we're going from Rise from the Ashes. And this card is a rare, so you're going to have red, yellow, and blue here. It is a 0-cost Draconic Ninja attack 2 block. The next Draconic or Ninja attack action card you play this turn, it gains +3, +2 in yellow, +1 in blue. You may return a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard to your hand, and it has Go Again. So Rise from the Ashes is really nice because it replaces itself by grabbing a Phoenix Flame, and it buffs the next attack unconditionally, whether it's a Ninja or a Draconic, and is also free, which is the standard rate for a lot of your buffs. So think about like Red Minnowism is a 0 for 3 in red, Red Nimblism is a 0 for 3 in red. So it gives you that initial 0 for 3 Go Again 2 block, but it also gives you that Phoenix Flame economy into hand, right? And which is really, really nice because for the Draconic base 5 builds, even the Rupture base 5 builds, that flame can be used to enlarge the chain, which enables you to trigger those ruptures or get more value out of your Draconic buffing cards, which we're going to talk a little bit about soon.
A lot of the chain cards rely on chain link 4, I believe. And
4, you have to play it as 4 or higher.
Exactly. Cards, It's very hard to get to that point if you have a 5-card hand that you have to pitch. So, I mean, at least this card gets you a card to replace itself on the chain, or at least gives a card back to play something on the chain. So, to your point, that makes this very favorable for those Rupture combos.
Yeah, that Phoenix Flame does gain +1 if it's put on chain like 2 or higher. You can use that. You can use Phi to get another Phoenix Flame on chain link 3 or higher. It could be free if you have 3. If you play 3 Draconic chain links, you can use Phi for free to grab another one. So you can keep like enlarging your chain to be able to pop those more impactful attacks later in the chain, like on 4, 5, and 6, right? So Rise from the Ashes, definitely a 3 of. It is a rare, so it is going to be a little bit difficult. I think if you find the red Rise in draft, you definitely try to play Phi, or at least look at playing Phi. This is one of those rare cards where I would snap pick this at the red. I think at the blue or yellow, it's a little bit more dicey, but at the red, I think you definitely snap pick this and keep yourself open in Phi because it's a very, very good card. The next card we're going to be talking about is also another Draconic Ninja card. It is a Majestic, however, Combustion Point. Let's say Collision Point for some reason. Combustion Point. This is a card I actually got in my seal pool, and it was Majestic, and I thought it was amazing. And I don't think it's as amazing anymore, but I think it's very good, specifically in Constructed. I do not think this card is very good in Draft, or Limited for that matter. Maybe Draft, but definitely not Sealed, which is where I had it in. So Combustion Point is a Draconic Ninja attack reaction. Blocks for 3, costs 1, comes in red. Target Draconic Ninja, Draconic or Ninja attack action gains +1. So automatic +1 buff, kind of nice. You may banish a non-equipment defending card with defense less than the number of Draconic chain links you control. Right? So in a nutshell, it's if they block with a 2 blocking card, you need to play this on the third Draconic chain link, and it has to be an attack action. It can't be a Searing Emberblade. You can't use your weapon and use it on that, right? So it has to be an attack action. So you could do something like you could pitch, play like a 1 for 3, 1 for 4, Go Again Draconic, play your Searing Emberblade, play another attack action. If they block with a 2 block, you can then Combustion Point it back. You can also save this for if you have like a 5-card hand with a little bit of draw with like a tome or something. You can play this on your Chainlink 4 to get rid of a 3-block card, right?
Yeah.
So giving a ninja essentially a 1-cost route. It's more or less like the most comparable card, right?
2.0 here, yeah.
It's Route 2.0. I think it's not better than Route, but it's just different. And giving Ninja this card is very, very good. It gives the +1. The stipulation is that it needs to have a lower block, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Route, you just play it. But route costs
It
2.
costs 2.
That's the difference. It costs 2. That's the difference here. So the scary the possibility you can slam someone for like 4 or 5 right above and go over the top for those on hit effects, because there's a lot of cards later in the chain where it definitely rewards you for hitting. A lot of the 1-for-4s in red, a lot of the like the rupture cards, like the next point. I don't know if we mentioned it here. I think it's one of the honorable mentions that the on hit is tangible, and so this card really helps you get over heavier control decks. So I know everyone's sick of 5, but we're gonna go with another 5 card here.
We're gonna do it anyway.
We're gonna do it because this is Uprising, and we're gonna go with as much fire as we can here. So the next card we have is Spreading Flames, another majestic. I also pulled this one in my sealed pool. You can probably guess what hero I went with.
Did you win?
Sealed pool.
Did you win the whole event?
I won some. No, I didn't. You can't win the whole event. You can go 6-0. I didn't go 6-0. I hit like double Icelander in my last 2 games and got a little destroyed because their pools were nutty. But we have Spreading Flames. It's a 1-for-3 in red, majestic, draconic ninja attack action, 2 block. Draconic attacks you control. Attacks, keep that in mind. So it does affect weapons.
Yeah.
Have +1 while their base power is less than the number of draconic chain links you control. So when you think about it, you really want to be starting with this card because the main target that it always hits is Phoenix Flame.
Right.
Because Phoenix Flame's base is 0. And so if you play at minimum, you play Spreading Flames. Let's say you have a Phoenix Flame from Arsenal, whatever, you play it. Gives itself +1. Spreading Flames will give it another +1. Because it's looking at base power. So the base power is 0, meaning you technically and so to get this card out, a minimum
will always get buffed.
Exactly, and you have to play this. Exactly, and you have to play this on Chainlink 2 to give the +1 because you're playing Spreading Flames first, anyways, right? So you're playing that on Chainlink 1.
Chain 2 or greater,
Yeah, so you can get another. So it's usually a 1-for-4 at minimum, getting a 1 Phoenix Flame out, because generally, like, you're going to start the chain. You're probably going to go long enough to either get a Phoenix Flame back with Phi and play it, right? Or you might have another one with an effect, like you might have 2 engrave, and you might use Phi and some other effects to get another card. So you might get +2 off of it.
Right.
You can actually go long enough that it hits other cards with low base attacks. The one that I managed to pull off and sealed was Lava Burst. Lava Burst actually is a rupture card. Its base attack is 2, and it gains +3 if it's on Chainlink 4 or higher. So it becomes a 0-for-5 on Chainlink 4, which is actually a 0-for-6 if you hit that on Chainlink 4 or higher, if you get the Spreading Flames, because it gives you the +1, which is pretty nifty, having a 0-for-6 Ender.
Yeah.
Kind of out of nowhere. That's good value right there.
100%.
So it doesn't only hit Phoenix Flames, especially the longer your chain goes, the more value you can get out of it. With that, it also has Go Again by itself, so you don't have to really do anything about that. So it has the chance to usually add 3 or 4 extra damage on a turn as long as it buffs at least 1. It's the same rate as a leg tap, right? It is a 1-for-4 Go Again you can start your chain with, which does come at a premium for Phi.
And because of Phi's ability, I think you're looking at maybe 1-for-5 more realistically. More often than not, I think 1-for-5.
You have, definitely if you have some, especially if you have some of the yellow and blues that like the 0 cost that you pay for anyways, getting the +1 off whatever base attack you're hitting on, it's pretty good. And it's also like you can hit it on the Searing Emberblade if you swing with it late enough in the chain, right? Like if you hit Chainlink 4 as you're seeing Emberblade, your Emberblade has a base attack of 3, right? And so if that's hitting on Chainlink 4, it will gain +1. I believe. Well, +4 the base is lower. Yeah, because you control 4 at that point. So it'll go up to 4. Yeah, it'll go up to 4. So Spreading Flame is a very, very good card. Very good in the Draconic base decks, the ones where you're stacking a lot of Draconic effects, or you're using stuff like Rise Up. Rise Against? Rise Up? I'm thinking of the band Rise Against. It must be Rise Up.
Yeah,
it's one of those
not
cards.
Rise Against.
No, it's Rise. I think it's Rise Up, and which is the one that adds extra damage for each. It's a dominate 1-for-3, but it adds damage based on how many Phoenix Flames you have. So it's very, very good for that kind of deck in general.
Right.
The last card I'm going to be talking about for now, before I hand it off to Rob, is a legendary card, and usually I don't like adding legendary cards. The reason is a lot of them are either very niche, generically very good, or unobtainable in limited format. right? Like you can't expect to ever see this card in limited. But I'm gonna add this one. It's called Tiger Stripe.
It's that good.
Tiger Stripe Shuko. I think it's very, very good. Like I was looking at the legendaries very closely, and like I could have added the crown, right?
Yeah.
I could have added like it's a generic 2 block that helps aggro decks a lot. I could have been okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Tiger Stripe, you have to think about what Ninja had before. Nothing. It had the common arm piece, the one armor.
Breaking Scalers, is that the one?
Breaking Scales. Snapdragon Scalers.
I keep mixing
Snapdragon
them up. I'm
Scalers,
sorry. Breaking Scales.
That's okay. Breaking Scales. Which doesn't do anything for 5 because it only affects combos on its plus on its buff.
That's a good point.
It's just a 1 armor.
Yeah.
So you know what? Fi needed something, and I'm happy that they chose the arm piece because Fi has like enough other pieces with like it has Mask of Momentum if it wants it. It has that new crown. It has a tunic. It has the other draconic chest piece if it wants it. And like scalers are really good as a leg piece. So it doesn't really need anything, but the arm piece could have used some help. And they have Tiger Stripe Shuko. The art is really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, not really a point here. It is a ninja equipment, so other decks can use it. So Benji can use it. We can nudge. Benji can use it.
Yep. This fits really well into the Benji deck for sure.
Very good into the Benji deck. It has 2 armor Blade Break. 2 armor Blade Break for a ninja is so good because like think about Mask. Yeah. You just get a 4 block off nothing running this in Mask. That's amazing for an aggro deck, right? The effect, second attack action. So it's the second attack action with 2 or less base power you play each turn has +1, and damage that would be dealt by this can't be prevented. So let's talk about the first part of that.
The quell mechanics. Oh yeah, go for the first part.
The quell mechanics. So let's go for the first part. So the attack action 2 or less base power you play each turn has +1. So on the surface level, I think the whole point of this is to, on Fi, is to coordinate with Phoenix Flames, right? Because 2 or less base power. A lot of your blues and yellow do have 2 or less base power. 2 or less base power. In Flame, I believe it's the one go again that gets. I think it's called Inflame. It's the one that gets your. If you played another red card, you play it as one go again, and you can grab a Phoenix Flame from your grave. That one has less than 2 Lava Burst, as I said. That base 2. Card that comes in for 5 off Chainlink 4 or higher.
One that gains +3.
Base 2.
Yep.
Anyone think of a Phoenix Flame into this thing? It just gets buffed by another one. You hit this thing for 5 off a Searing Flame.
This is realistically 1 damage every turn, honestly.
Well, not okay. So the key is it's not early. Like early on, you probably because you need to get that Phoenix Flame in the grave ASAP to be able to like cycle them well enough to do so. So you really need your tutor cards to get it locked and loaded essentially. So I don't think it's every turn. But I think it's just a nice bonus because making a 2 power or 3 is nice. Don't get me wrong, but against a lot of decks that have 3 blocks, it's kind of a moot point, right? They're going to block it regardless. So it's good. It gives you free value. The block is really what I like. The 2 armor is really, really what I like in an aggro deck, right? I think the +1 is nice, and if you can trigger it, do as much as possible. But I think it's a bit of a trap to try to. Other than maybe like a Benji or some kind of weird OTK combo thing, which you might want stubbies for anyways if you're not in Blitz, because still Benji, don't worry about Benji. But in like CC, if you're going for some stubbies Fi build, you can't even run this, right? So I think it's a bit of a trap to try to maximize as much as you possibly can the effect. The armor is really nice. The damage that would be dealt by this can't be prevented. So that's very similar to Swarming Gloomveil mechanic, where like if you have the 3 auras generated, you can't prevent arcane damage.
Can't be blocked, right?
Which, so this part, I mean, as long as Prism is still a thing, and you have Spectre Shields, can you imagine the Spectre Shield just like committing suicide against this card? Because technically, if it does manage to hit, like damage would be dealt by this, so you can block the card.
Right.
So let's say you come in for something for 2 and buff by 1, comes in for 3, and they block for 2 for some reason, and they have a spectral, and they have a
bunch of shields.
Yeah, let's say they have spectral shields. Period.
yeah.
Those spectral shields are now running at that attack, and to no avail. They're destroying themselves. One by one, they're going down the drain. They're sacrificing themselves for the greater good because they can't prevent it.
But is in vain.
Yeah. But I've seen a lot of questions about that. Can you block this? Like, does it prevent blocking? No. You don't just turn into Benji.
Yes.
Like, let's say you had a 1 power go again, it turns into a 2 power go again.
Yeah.
You can block it with a 2 block card and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is mainly because of the quell mechanic that came in, I think.
Yeah.
The effect
damage
that
prevention.
if you were to take damage, you can pitch 1, I believe, to prevent that 1 damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can use quell as much as you want on the same turn, right? Like you can pitch 3 into it and block 1 on 3 different attacks. They die at the end.
At the end of the turn, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. So you could pitch 3 and block 3 off like 3 different block 1 off 3 different attacks, kind of thing.
Okay.
That's prevention. So that's it's a very very good card. I think it's something to look out for. I don't think it's a necessary legendary, but I think it's one of those legendaries like Mask of Momentum. I think if you want to play at the very, very top competitive level, you might want to consider getting this card.
It really is a notch above what you could do without it. Similar to Mask of Momentum, the pressure that it adds on 3 attacks in a row is just like, you can't replace that. There's no way. It's just really good. Yeah.
It's very good. So I'm gonna pass it off to Rob.
Hope you guys had enough Phi and Draconic stuff for a little while.
No, I'm not done. My special mention has one.
Here's my list.
Look, 2 out of the 3 heroes are Draconic. I can't that's
You're right, and that's also why we have more Draconic stuff on this list. That makes sense. But I wanted to have a few more cards on here that were at least geared towards Iyslander, because that's the deck that I want to play. And so I was kind of looking at her card pool and figured, yeah, like, what can I do with this deck? So the first card I have on the list is, no surprise, Frost Hex. When this card came out, I think it caught a lot of people off guard because they were like, how do you get rid of this thing? So the card reads, Iyslander specialization, of course. Frostbites you control have, at the beginning of your end phase, this deals 1 arcane damage to you. This was the first Ice Affliction aura that came out. So people were wondering, what's an Affliction? So an Affliction actually goes to the opponent's side of the field and stays there forever, unless you play Thaw. That's the one way to get rid of it. So at the moment, exactly. So looking at the stat line, it's a blue ice card. So first of all, synergizes with Iyslander's ability 100%. Blue ice cards all the way. 3 block and a 3 cost. So because Iyslander is a much more resource hungry deck, and of course with her ability, you want to play more blue cards in the deck, it is very likely you'll have a blue card to play this. You're very comfortable putting this in the arsenal and just playing it on your opponent's turn. There's really no issue there. Plus the Frostbite you create synergizes with the ability of Frost Hex to deal arcane damage if they don't get rid of it. So very nice. You can pop this near the end of their turn. They have no more cards to play. It's 1 free damage basically. Yeah, so a very sticky card. Afflictions are really good. They're highly costed for a reason. And yeah, I think just based on the stat line, this card's going to see a lot of play, and you can stack them too. You can play multiples of these on throughout the game. It also provides Iyslander with a very nice kind of like end game finisher kind of strategy, where if you have multiples of these, each Frostbite is going to be up to 3 damage. So you can play cards that generate up to 4, Frostbites, 3 or 4 Frostbites. Your opponent can't, if they can't deal with them, if they can't pitch enough to get rid of their Frostbites,
they have to eat through it, right? Like that's the only way of like
all the damage,
getting rid of it.
Yeah. So it kind of gives your opponent a more of a tough question if whether they want to pop the Frostbites by pitching a bunch or taking the damage.
Whether they want to pop the question.
That's right. Will they pop the question into Frost Hex? So I think it's an excellent card. I think 3 of pretty naturally. No questions there. Sure.
Yep.
All right. Next card I've got is Insidious Chill. So another blue.
Is it Insidious?
Insidious. Did I say no? Insidious.
Insidious.
Insidious, just like the horror movie Insidious. So.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. I guess that's where it came from.
I guess so. Okay. I don't know.
Sorry. Continue.
So a nice blue card as well. That costs 3. So actually very similar to Frost Hex, except it blocks for 2. So the card reads, Insidious Chill enters the arena with 3 frost counters on it. When it has no frost counters on it, destroy it. Okay. Whenever you Ice Fuse, remove a frost counter from Insidious Chill, and if you do, the target hero discards a card unless they pay 2. So this is an ability that you can use 3 times whenever you Ice Fuse. The deck Ice Fuses quite a bit. There are quite a few nice non-attack action cards that deal arcane that have frost, that have Ice Fuse. So you'll get this ability off pretty frequently, I think. And for 3 resources, it provides you with the ability to make your opponent pay 6. So very good trade-off in terms of resources. If they are a Draconic hero, they likely will not have that many resources at their disposal, so they'll be discarding cards, which they never want to do, but it might force them to. So very good value, I think, with this card. Creates the Frostbite through Icelander's ability. You're very comfortable, again, just arsenaling this card and playing it on your opponent's turn. It is more geared towards a very control style of this deck. I don't know really how far we're going to be stretching the control versus mid-range version of this deck. I don't know if there's a mid-range version at all, actually. I haven't played this hero in CC yet. And I don't know in draft, or not draft. In draft, I don't know how good this card would be.
In limited.
Unlimited, rather, sorry. It is a Majestic, so you're not going to see it that often anyway. But, if you do see it, I think it is a good card to pick anyway, because, Frost Fusing will still happen in Limited. So I think it's a very good card regardless. One of the top picks for sure in Icelander. I'd run 3 of, I think, in my deck until I figure out that maybe it's not as good as I think. But, I think it's great either way. And if you have multiples of them, you're actually gaining more value because a single Ice Fuse is going to be triggering twice, I believe. So for each Insidious Chill, you trigger the Ice Fuse once. So, really good card. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I think it's a very fair card. Very good.
I think it's just like Frostfang on a stick, right? Like it's essentially it's the same effect.
Yeah,
Frostfang on a stick.
That sounds brutal. Weird. Like you have like a speared. What is it? Like a wolf? You have a speared wolf on a stick.
Wolf thing. Yeah, but like it's as you said, it's a very control oriented build. I'm curious to see like the preeminent Icelander deck construction
like
process.
Where on the I see.
Where on the scale the scale on the meta are you going to like throw in this 36 health frigid kind of like it's also a matter of like looking at the legendaries, the synergy, but I think Icelander's Kid's very interesting where Insidious Chill might come in as a sideboard card versus aggro.
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of where I see it, but it's a very good sideboard card versus aggro.
And regardless, it's blue and ice. So I mean if you're looking for because that's when you're building this deck, you really do want to lean towards all of the blue and ice cards just because it synergizes with her ability 100%. You get both effects off blue and ice cards. So I mean it might be a sideboard card, but I'm leaning towards main deck at least for now. Against Oldhim or something like that, it doesn't matter as much. It is going to be coming out for like 1-for-1, I guess, or it's still like a 1-for-3. So value wise is still there. Anyway, blue ice card. Enough said, I think. Let's move on. So the next card we have is a common, not a majestic. This is Aether Hail. Specifically, I got the blue one up here because the blue one will matter a lot more than the red one, I think. So it is a blue ice card again. Blocks for 3, fantastic. And it reads, for 1 cost, deal 2 arcane damage to any target. So very kind of unassuming if you're just looking at the card at face value. But as we kind of talked about this card a little bit more, we figured that a 1-cost blue ice card is actually very nice into Icelander because specifically her weapon, Waning Moon, costs 2 resources, and you can only use it if you've played a non-attack action card. So the idea is you would play Aether Hail from Arsenal with Icelander's ability as an instant on your opponent's turn, and then Waning Moon can come in on the same blue pitch that you used for Aether Hail, hopefully. You can then play Waning Moon for an extra 3 damage. So you're looking at 5 damage for a single blue pitch, and you're giving a Frostbite. So really nice little combo you can do, and the red one isn't bad either. 1-for-4 arcane. I would probably still try to run the reds as well because
I would say the red. I would say you want 3 reds, 3 blues. Honestly, like 1-for-4 is still good in arcane when you're looking at like when you're looking generic. Well, not generic, but like quote unquote regular
like vanilla
wizard spells. You're looking at Voltic Bolt, which is a 2-for-5. So being a 1-for-4 and being ice for the fuse.
That's right. I forgot to mention.
I think we take those.
Every card so far has been ice, and they're all good for fusing as well. Yes, that's a good point. I forgot to mention that. Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's like an overall very good card. In limited, this card is pick it up in blue, pick up in red, yellow, but red and blue. Like if you see a bunch of these floating around, pack after pack.
Yeah.
Icelander's open.
It's great chip
pick
damage
up Icelander
over time too. If you're just playing these one per turn, it's just good chip damage. Blocks for 3 too. So I think it's pretty much a snap pick. Yeah.
Staple card.
There you go. Yep. And the last card I've got is not an ice card. It is a draconic card, but it is a generic draconic card. It is Thaw. Thaw is a 2 cost for 6 damage, red pitch. So red pitch being great in both Phi and Dromai, of course. It does block for 2. So, if you compare it to CNC, 2 for 6 red, but CNC blocks for 3. So a little bit less than the CNC kind of overall stat value. But its ability is, while Thaw is in your graveyard, at the start of your turn, you may banish it and then choose one of the following abilities. Destroy a target Frostbite, destroy a target Ice Affliction, or unfreeze a target frozen card. Mainly it's going to be your arsenal or an ally that you can choose for that. Or your hero, I suppose, because you're still a card, right?
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay.
Okay. Yep. You could do it could be any card on the board. It is important to note that like it does let you use like your hero ability for your action phase because it is start of turn. So there's no priority. There is no priority at start of turn. So you're gonna be able to thaw start of turn and use your hero during your actual action phase, which is quite nice.
That's a good point. Exactly. And this is the only way that you can remove Frost Hex right now, or any affliction for that matter.
Any Ice Affliction.
Ice Affliction, sorry. So very good card. It will be probably one of the most sideboarded cards in Phi and Dromai.
If they are meta. Like if Icelander and all these ice heroes that are using these Ice Afflictions become meta. Or at least like competitive to the point where you're going to see a bunch of them, I think you run at least 2 thaws is my guess.
But and the trade-off for playing so for the trade-off for the ability means you would have had to play or pitch 2 to attack for 6, or actually you can block with this too. Actually, as long as it's in the graveyard, you can use the ability. So actually much easier to get off than I initially thought. I forgot you could block with it. So getting the free ability to remove an ice a frostbite is really good, because Icelander works hard for those frostbite tokens, and if you can just banish these to give to just get rid of them for free, that is really good. So like Eric said, I think if Icelander or any of the other ice heroes, mainly Oldhim or Lexi, become very oppressive in CC, this is going to be for sure at least a 2 of, I think. Okay,
yeah, I totally agree.
All I've got. So I think you have some honorable mentions to go through.
That's our top 10.
That's it for top 10. So we're done with that.
That's it for the regular top 10. No particular order that we were running them. These are just 10 cards to like look out for, essentially, that we've seen good and in either both limited and constructed, or good for a variety of different reasons, either in the sideboard or in the main deck. A couple of honorable special mentions. Breaking Point. I said I wasn't done with Draconic.
Yeah, we're back.
So Breaking Point is a Draconic attack action. Comes in red only. It is a 1 cost. It is one of our Rupture cards. So this is the Rupture card that has in my view, the most usable effect. It's not just pure damage. So it's a 1 for 5, which is already, and it blocks for 3. So it's already costed pretty nicely. It's a 1 for 5, right?
It's bingo stat line.
It's a bingo stat bongo. It is the bongo at this point, because it is the Rupture.
The Rupture is the bongo. Well, we do the fourth word. Bingo, bango, bongo, bango.
Oh god, we work too much. Anyway. All right. If Breaking Point is played as Chainlink 4 or higher, it has, when this hits a hero, destroy all cards in Arsenal. Hello, CNC for 1. So you are on the same stat line as CNC, right? 2 for 6, 1 for 5, 3 block.
The curve is
same
there.
Stat line.
Yeah.
However, you know what you get to do with this? You get to snaps it. You get to razor it. You can buff this card. You can give it go again. Like it's. To me, it's just like the card that keeps on giving. And it's I'm not necessarily sold on having this all the time in the main deck. It depends on what deck you're facing. If you're playing into Oldhim, probably not that useful of a card, into Crown of Seeds kind of thing, right? However, into the aggro mirrors, into like those mid-range decks, super good card. The only thing is like they can play D-reacts on it, but forcing a D, like they need more than just a D-react for 4. Right, this comes in for 5. They need more than just a 0
1
for
equipment
4.
and a D-react for 4.
That's good.
And aggro decks typically don't run the D-reacts, like the 0 for 4s. It's not usually a thing.
They don't. That's why it's good. So, I'm thinking more like the mid-range decks that might have them, but I think it's also good because you can pretty easily buff this card. So for that matter, it's like, hey, what if you Breaking Point? They block out with their stuff. You snaps and then you play another Breaking Point. Then what? Like, can you block the second Breaking Point? Like, it really kind of depends. Like, I wouldn't play this card into like Icelander or Oldhim, decks that can easily get their arsenal out. However, into other decks, especially aggro, Crown of Seeds or Icelander, just getting it as instant. The blue card. But other decks, I think it's very, very good. I think it's a very good card.
I can see a lot of situations where you're kind of building up to this card, and if you're against an aggro deck, or I don't know, like a deck that doesn't really want to block you for whatever reason on that turn. They're taking a bunch of damage basically early on. Like, okay, I'll take the damage, take the damage, and then you come out with this, and it's kind of like ending your turn on a CNC, right? It's like it's so oppressive because they've already taken the 10 to 15 damage maybe before this card even shows up, and then now they're like, well, okay, I wanted a 5-card hand, I wanted to like deal as much damage as you did to me, and now it's like I can't do that anymore. So this card is so kind of like soul breaking to see. It's just as bad as ending a turn on Briar with a CNC, or like Ira with a CNC at the end of your turn, right? It's just so
it really is breaking the point here. Yeah, no,
it's really the breaking point.
So that's the first card. The second card, and that's the last one we're going to mention here, is Erase Face. Not just because of the nutso artwork.
The art's crazy.
From this guy, literally erasing whoever that was his face. 2 for 6, 2 block. Standard kind of stat line for 2 for 6. In red, if it hits a hero, cards and tokens they own lose all class and talent types until the end of their next turn. So, lot to unpack here. I'm going to give you a couple examples for people. I'm going to let people like kind of wrap their head around how much stuff this disrupts.
Yeah.
Draconic. Disappeared. Oh, you needed the Chainlink 4 to you needed like Rupture, that's fine, but you need Draconic for anything else? Oh, no Draconic for you. Text doesn't say anything. You're just generic all the way. You know what I mean? The nice part is for stuff like Rupture cards don't care, right? You could just have a bunch of go-agains into a Rupture. Rupture cards say if it's played as Chainlink 4 or higher.
Right.
That's it. It doesn't require Draconic.
They don't care about the class, yeah.
They don't. But like for stuff that cares about the Draconic Chainlinks, like Phoenix Rising is just the Phoenix Flames, but like Rise Up and stuff like that.
Does Mask of Momentum say ninja card specifically? The third ninja card that hits?
It's just the attack action. No, it's just
his attack action. Or attack, because Kodachis count, I believe. Oh, it has to be the third attack action card to have hit that. Right. Okay. So that doesn't matter.
Yeah, so that doesn't really matter. So it stops Draconic things that, like, you play the card Uprising, the next 4 Draconic attacks gain +1. That card is now useless. None of your stuff's Draconic for the turn. So hits that. It counters Luminaris, right? Because when you're looking at Luminaris specifically, so Luminaris says when there's a card with a yellow strip in your pitch zone, illusionist attacks you control gain go again. Guess what? None of your cards are illusionist anymore.
They're basic now.
They're basic. And that's tokens too. Tokens too. So when you're looking at all your when you're looking at like all your auras, so it's like specifically, let's look at, I don't know, let's say you're going aura build and you have whatever cards here. All of your tokens, they're also not illusionist. Right? So it just your strategies get kind of like put on the sidelines for a little while. The last one I'm going to mention is Seismic Surge tokens. Seismic Surge specifically says Guardian attack action.
Okay.
Guess what? Just imagine heaving a Pulverize and then getting hit with the Race Face, and then you now have to pay 10 for your Pulverize.
Yep.
And your arsenal is stuck there.
Stuck forever.
Well, maybe not forever, right? But like you could just let a CNC hit you, right? Just like CNC me, breaking point me.
That's what it's come to. Like, please get it out of my arsenal.
So there's like a couple different scenarios. There's more scenarios, but like reduction in cost thing, it could affect all of it, right? It's very, very good in the sideboard. It is not a main deck card. There are decks that do not
very situational.
Care about this at all.
But because it's generic, you can put it in any deck. So even though it's situational, it'll see a lot of play because everyone can use it.
Exactly. I think so also. Preeminent sideboard card here. So those are our picks. Did we miss anything crazy?
Yeah.
That like these were kind of like our ideas that we saw that we thought we might mention in limited based on like based on what we've seen so far, based on what we've played. We will be playing a lot more very, very soon for all those gameplay and collaborations coming up soon. So if we've missed anything, comment below. Do you like these cards? Are they good? What are you excited for Uprising? Maybe we can take a look at it here. So if you liked content, you want to see more of this kind of content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And for wherever you are in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Bye for now.